Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, welcome. We're happy to have you here in our workshop for part development in the 3D Experience platform. My name is Mohammed, and I'm joined here with my colleague Kiran. We're both industry process consultants, and we specialized. Myself specialize more in modeling and simulations, while Kiran specializes in modeling and manufacturing. We both have experience in the industry, and we hope our hope here is to bring that experience and knowledge to you. During this workshop, if you have noticed at the top right, there is a tab where you can ask any questions. And towards the end, we're going to have a Q&A session where you can ask as many questions as you would like, and we will address them as needed. And with that said, I want to start by showing basically the content that we will be going through in this workshop. Now, one thing I wanted to make clear is this workshop is adhering to multiple different users. It's adhering to, of course, the student and the usage of the platform with a special focus on CATIA for part design. It's adhering to the professors and how they can administrate the different aspects of the platform. And also, this is what we call, of course, is the 3D experience platform, and as well as the administrators from the IT team who can admin, students and professors alike into the platform. With that, it's going to be two parts. The first part will be covered by me, where I'm going to start by a brief introduction about LaunchTech and what we do, and then I'm going to give an overview of the 3D Experience platform. I'm also going to do a demo where I show you this overview. But initially, I'm going to give you a small presentation to actually convey what the 3D experience is and what it represents. Then we are going to swiftly move into the ED space. ED space is arguably one of the most important topics. It's because it's the online learning library where you can access content and learn more and more about industry experience with the 3D experience platform. And then I'm going to discuss also the packaging that we have for the 3D experience. And from that point, I will move, it will be moved to Kiran, who is going to cover the technical part of CATIA 3D experience with part design. He's gonna do a showcase to you, and then he's also going to have an exercise with you together building parts and a Q&A session, of course, to cover any questions you might have. So I'm hope you are ready. It is going to be one lengthy session, and hopefully you will get a lot of knowledge both in how to use the platform and in terms of the product life cycle management part of it, which I'm going to explain a bit, and then also the technical part design of CATIA. Now, with that said, I'm going to start off by introducing, as I said, LaunchTech. So, LaunchTech, we are a local provider and a local partner and a provider for Dassault systems in this region, and we are located in Abu Dhabi. We provide softwares and solutions of Dassault to the local market here. We are working with leading universities and leading research institutes and commercial institutes in the region, and we also provide any technical trainings regarding any of the software we provide to you, and as well as consultancy where we work together with you or with our clients basically to provide that experience and technical hands-on support. And of course, we are also a certification center in the Middle East. If you wish to get certified, you can always contact us, and we can help you to get the latest and most advanced, certifications in the industry. I'm pretty sure that you heard me say 3D experience multiple times. Maybe it's a new concept or a new terminology for some of you here. But to explain it in an overview way, what you see here in the middle is the campus. So this is what we call the campus. This is the logo of the 3D experience platform. The 3D experience platform is a platform released by Dassault Systems, a French company. And this platform adheres to all the needs of engineering and adheres to all the engineering needs in the industry. As you can see, we cover multiple different sections. The campus in the middle is actually divided to 4 different quadrants, where you can see each quadrant holds a set of brands basically for a set of solutions. Um, I'm gonna go very brief, explain 1 or 2 brands here, basically the main focus of academic industry right now, which is in the top here, you can see this is Inuvia. Inuvia is in the social and collaborative apps quadrant, and it handles the collaboration between the different members in the platform. And it also has, of course, project management capabilities that you can handle full-scaled projects in. And the left quadrant, and this is perhaps the most interesting for you at this point, is our design and engineering, where you can do 3D CAD modeling. Notably here is CATIA, and CATIA is basically the industry leader in terms of very complex design assemblies. Um, and then at the bottom here, and just a note mention here, this is where we have our simulation portfolio, and it is inclusive of Simulia, which is our leading brand of simulations. Basically, when you finish designing a part, you want to understand the behavior of that part. This is the sweet spot for that type of discipline. And we also have on the right side data science related applications, and these where you want to take it to the next step in capturing and understanding analytical data. With that said, the reason why we or the reason why Household Systems is setting up this platform in this sense is because they want to connect all the different users in an environment together. And for academia, for yourselves, it's nice that the tool that you are using right now is the same tool that leading brands use. It's the same tool. By the way, for example, multiple of the big names in the industry, including Boeing and Airbus, are using these tools. And so for you, it's going to be an easy transition to the market with this knowledge. And with that said, to give you maybe a bit of a more clear image of it, I have a very simple example right here. So as most of you are probably aware, when we design a part, and this is what we're gonna do in a minute, but when we are designing a part, we look at the form, fit, and function of that part. The form basically is the shape, dimensions, and then the fit is basically how that part contributes to other parts in a full assembly setting. And this is you know done between the designer himself of the part and the manufacturing engineer, because the designer is the one designing the shape, designing the different the length, the width of the part. And but at the same time, you have a manufacturing engineer person that is also more interested maybe in the fit and how he can fit this part and how he can actually produce that part with the different parts, and to eventually have a full assembly. So the platform is meant for people such as these, where they have different functional, each of them different jobs, different functionalities and responsibilities, but they are working in the same environment, in the same um, model, basically. You can call it kind of like the OneDrive or the Google Drive of 3D modeling and simulation. And then, of course, there are more stakeholders. As you can see here, we have systems engineers that are interested on this part, and this designer and other designers and parts in the full image of the full product that is planned here, as well as the CEA analyst, which cares more of also about verifying that part and making sure the behavior of that part is as it should be. Now, with that said, in settings like this, maybe it doesn't make us, the message is still not across. But for example, if I have a part and I have a diameter of 189, sorry, 190, and I'm planning to test it with 189 millimeters instead. In a normal setting, now a designer needs to go communicate with another person. separately, move files and move data in a very, let's say, disconnected way, which in a industrial setting, that's you're basically wasting a lot of time here. Where if you would were to put that in a single platform, now that connection between the different stakeholders, where they can all make sure they're accessing the right model, the latest model, that now it comes to play, and that's how you have big savings on time with the industry. Now, uh, as I said, the platform hosts the leading functionalities, including CATIA, as you can see here. It even has more functionalities than the legacy tool, which is CATIA v5. You can do functional generative design with a focus for additive manufactured end product or a machined end product. And you can do full scale, big assemblies. You can do shape refinement, and you can even connect it with the virtual reality, where you can actually, you know, physically try to observe how that full assembly is behaving in a specific settings. The same can be said with Simulia on the same platform. And that with Simulia, you want to test, for example, structure analysis. You want to test fluids, cooling, for example, performance, and so on. And as well as Delmia, which is our manufacturing focused brand. We want to do CNC fabrication, CNC machining, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, and so on. Now we move to the, sorry that I maybe I've moved a bit too quick with this because of the time at the beginning, but I think this is now moving now to the more interesting demo part. And I am going to just change okay, yes. So I'm not sure how many of you guys have already used the platform, but probably this is the most or the look that you are most used to when you are using the platform. Okay, and I am going to, yep. So what you see here is what we call the 3D Experience platform. This is a platform, and this is accessed, of course, through your browser. I am going to start by introducing the interface of it. So in the interface, you can notice that you have some sort of like a navigation bar at the top with different functionalities. And notably, you have this campus right here, which we discussed. And then you have a full dashboard at the bottom, or like starting after the navigation until the rest of the page. To start one by one, function by function, I am going to start with the campus. Campus is arguably the most important, part. And as I hover it, you can see here it says roles, apps, and solutions. So if I click here, ideally, this is how it would look like. And this would be the section of the roles. I'm going to just click on this to make it less crowded at this point, because I have almost all the roles. But so here what we have, 4 sections, starting from my roles, cockpits, favorite applications, and my apps. So the way it goes is that you would have a set of roles. Ideally for you, I think you would, most of the people here might have 3 or 4 roles. Um, the role in question today would be the engineering expert for education. And as I click on any of these roles, you can see that I will get an access to a list of applications for that said role, depending on the role itself. And one thing that should be noted, for the academic solution, you have each package representing like some sort of a huge domain. So anything related to design would be under engineering expert. Anything related to, for example, to simulation would be a simulation engineer. If it is structural simulation, if it's electromagnetic simulation, if it's fluid simulation, heat analysis, anything would be under this single package. And this is what's nice about the packaging, or the way that the platform here works, is that you would get a package that includes all what you need and way more. And even the simulation engineer package right here, it does also have some design related roles like park design, very simple and introductory part of the designing and the, you know, an engineering design is also included here, for example. Now, with that said, we also have, so I just close my roles tab. I'm going to my cockpits. We have cockpits, which is basically a predefined, some sort of predefined dashboards for specific, for conveying specific information about specific roles. Uh, Typically not really in the default stage here. It's not used much, except if you would like to explore more about any of these packages, because these themselves are roles. Other than the case where you are managing the platform, which we are going to explore in a bit. Now, with that said, you can also view all of. I'm gonna skip this, so you can see that here all the applications for all the different roles that are given to you are here. And if you wish to move any of these to your favorite set, maybe you have too many roles to look at and you would like to have a group of them in your favorite set, you can always move in them back and forth from here. Now, with that said, another nice thing in the platform is, as I mentioned initially, you have dashboards. And ideally, dashboards would be divided, according to your need, if you wish. It could be per project. It could be per, let's say, a project or class or per professor or a student. You can build as many dashboards as you would wish. And we are going to build one in a minute. However, and just before we go there, I just wanted you to, I wanted to explain a few things here, notably that you have here this support button right here, and it can give you access to documentations about getting started, and the user assisted documentation basically, which has a bit more details in terms of the functionalities in the platform. But one of the most important things when a user has access to the platform is the user communities. If you would like to interact with other users in the platform, that, for example, if I'm trying to interact with other users that are designing with the platform all around the world, I can access communities from here. You can access the 3D Experience community, and I'm going to click here. And now it's going to take me to the communities section. This is where you can see that I have 3D Experience platform user community, and multiple people are asking about different things related to the platform. Notably, at the top, you can see that there's the wiki page where you can click on the wiki and see the different information that they have in the communities. Because usually when someone asks, or like a group of asked questions are under the same topic, they would be ideally grouped in the same topic. But what perhaps might be more interesting is that we have the CATIA user community, which is, of course, important not because people ask questions, but also because Dassault likes to release a lot of challenges that are awarded, and they release them here in their communities. Discussions about the different disciplines of CATIA, including creative design, styling, and systems engineering, are all here, and you can simply here just filter by one. I'm not gonna go through all the different functionalities of um, a community, but ideally you can write comments, you can like posts, you can work with other people, you can create ideas and surveys for purposes of your research as well here. So it's a nice environment that you can have with other people in the community. Um, Now, with that said, I'm going to go back here, and we will resume about the dashboard and the applications. Now, one thing to note is that for managing the platform, there is always the platform management dashboard. This dashboard will only be accessible to any admin in the platform. And as you can see here, it allows you to see the different members and the roles that we have in the platform. I'm gonna do just a quick exercise where I am going to try and invite a user so that maybe administrators can see the best and most optimized way. We can invite maybe a single or a list of people. So first thing, if you would like to invite the users, ideally you should come either to invite user button here or to import members. In most cases, maybe a big import will happen in a new semester. And this is where admins can come here, download a sample, and this sample will have columns with the first name, second name, last name, and the roles you wish to give to that person. Or you can click here. It's basically the same process, and that process only, the duplication only happens with the user email name and right. Okay, so for this case, I'm just gonna give our LaunchTech support email here, which as you can see, so I'm inviting this user, and so I can give this user one of the three rights when I invite them. They could be either a member or administrator or external. Members are administrators, almost the same, with the exception that administrator can remove or add people or licenses. And external is basically if I have a guest and I don't wish for them to access all the content in my platform, and this is how do I invite people. Now, one thing that I personally think most people are not, or most administrators are not utilizing much is the personalized message, because I can simply write a message that explains the initial expected process from users, right? And it could be something as simple as this, for example, right? And the reason I'm emphasizing this much is because uh, ideally we should have some sort of steps where students can be expected to get their access, as well as introducing edu space, because edu space is ultimately where you want the student to go whenever they have questions. And it's a vast ocean, this 3D experience, and ideally they should be aware of the ways where they can learn more about any specific applications they would wish for, and of course to contact you if there are any questions. One more thing is you can always put, for administrators, I'm pretty sure you know this, but you receive a voucher where people can sign in with and get access to content in edu space. You can also share this with the students, so we always want to share with the students the right resources for them to be able to use this platform. And I'm pretty sure once I go over the resources right now, you will understand the value it provides to users. Now, clicking on next, it will now prompt me to um, assign any licenses or packages to any users I have. So it could be that I am, for example, if it's a mechanical based, design based batch of students, I could assign them to the engineering expert for education, just as such. If there are any prerequisites to that role, for example, if I want to grant you a role, but that role has a prerequisite role, it will automatically try to assign that prerequisite role as well. And then once I choose my roles, I can just click on next. And this page is about additional applications. And basically, this is the page where if you would wish to have any connection between any all tools, assuming that, for example, you are working with an external person that is using CATIA, you can still import CATIA parts into your 3D experience CATIA and export them as CATIA parts once again. But if you would wish to connect their CATIA v5 to your 3D experience PLM database, you would require this CATIA v5 add-in. Now, with that said, the person have successfully been invited, and you get this invitation message that they're successfully invited, and you can see that it's pending their acceptance to our invitation. Now, this covers basically the administration part of it, of the platform, and what I wish to explain here. Now, I am going to right now go, so I'm going to click on this icon right here, which is going to show me my cockpits and my dashboards, different dashboards. As you can see here, I have different dashboards for different projects. And I am going to go back to my first dashboard. So this is, again, this is the introduction that you guys would get. There are different tabs here, and you can add your own. And there are introductory videos to the different, to the drive, to the compass that I just explained, to the 3D swim. 3D swim is where the communities are, and such on. One more very important concept that should be explained in the very initial stages is actually the 3D space aspect. So the 3D space is basically, because as you know, everything in the platform is available on cloud. And 3D space is a way basically you segregate the different content on the platform. Uh, when you first start, you're going to see that there is a common space. This common space is basically, as the name states, it's something that is shared between all the different users on the platform. Now, sometimes you have a specific project you're working on where you don't want that content to be shared with other users, right? So that's it. That's how you can come here. You can create a new collaborative space. You can, for example, it could be for a specific project. It's ideally, it is up to you. This is something that administrators and users can do alike. And you can, for example, assuming that I am working on an F1 project car. I could also write, for example, the course code could be MEC 101. I can write in the description. I can basically, the family here means that if you would wish for this to include any sort of content, which ideally how it should be for most cases, where you are doing multiple things such as maybe documentations, compliance documentations from your professors, maybe even the requirements from your professor, as well as building the actual model for the car. And then I can set this to be private only, right? Or I can set it to be protected or public. Now, ideally, you should either work between private or public um, sorts of collaborative spaces. Private means that's only going to be visible to whoever is invited to um, this 3D space, while public it is available to all users. Protected is basically, this is something that you're going to see more in the industry side where they have different models. And whenever a model is removed from the production line or is released, basically um, will be visible. But other than that, it will not be visible. So people can see what is in production or out of production, but they cannot see what is being under work right now. So again, ideally it should be private here for your case, because you ideally are doing this 3D space because you want to segregate your content. Now, once I have created it, you can see here F1 project car. I can come here to the right and I can add content or add members to this platform. I can, for example, in this case, I can add a member, and it's going to be Kieran. Now, as you can see here, I have a contributor, an author, and a leader or owner. Now, a leader or owner ideally should be the administrator person. That person is not only handling, it does not only require access to put content into that 3D space, but also is administrative um, of that 3D space and such. Just like me right now, I'm adding Kieran. Kieran himself, for example, is not really concerned with administrating people or adding people, but he needs access to put content into the platform. So I'm giving him an author. Okay, a contributor basically is someone that's allowed to view things in that space, but is not allowed to make changes. Okay, so with that said, I've added Kiran. And ideally, if let's say a professor is doing some sort of project with with a few students, selective students, he doesn't really want other students to see the work of this group. He can make different groups for that project. Now, I've just closed 3D space, and right now I'm going to try and create a dashboard. Okay, so I'm gonna click on the three dashes here, and I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to add a dashboard, and I'm going to name this project or F1 project MEC 101, and I'm going to create. As you can see, it's a completely white interface here, right? And I'm going to set up a few things. This is something just to give you the gist of how dashboards work. So the first tab, I'm going to name it my institution, and I am going to open the campus, and I am going to look for an application that I wish to put in my dashboard, because ideally a dashboard should present to me information. Now, one thing is, you can see, if you look at the different applications right here, you can see that some of them have this arrow while some of them don't. If it has an arrow, it means that you can grab and drop it into your dashboard. If it doesn't, it means that it is going to launch the application. So here I am looking for web page, and I'm showing you this because I want to show you how versatile it is. And I am going to open our website right here, and it's asking me that you need to have HTTPS also with it, so I'm gonna have it with it, and I am going to add it. And as you can see, it is a widget that I can control, and I can resize it as I wish. Now, um, I'm going to click now. Actually, I would like to add something else. I'm gonna add something we call the globe viewer. This is something I like personally to show because, again, the versatility of the things that we have here. And basically right now I have the Earth set just next to my website in the dashboard. I'm going to go up here because I want to make it look a bit neater. I'm going to go up here to this menu like arrow, and I'm going to click on fit, and this is going to make it look more natural, basically. Now, let's say that I also would like to add um, access to my communities from here. And to do so, I will have to look for another application, which is the 3D Swim. So this 3D Swim basically is gonna open a point of view for me to the communities. Now, one thing you might ask is, how come we had so many communities before, and now I can only see 4 communities? The communities I opened from the top here are communities meant for all users. The communities you can see here are communities within my organization. So this is a community within the organization. We can have communities based on fields, projects, topics, and we can just communicate with each other, like each other's content, and just share the content within our community. This is something usually professors find very helpful because sometimes they want to push information to everyone in that, for example, in the mechanical engineering department. Now, I'm gonna also now create another tab right here. And this is something, again, for professors, this tab is gonna be very, very important. It's basically a game changer from what we have here. So I'm gonna call this curriculum, and I am going to look for the project planner. I will make it fit, And I can create a new project, can name it. So this is class MEC 101 group 1. This project includes the members of group 1 for MEC. And I am going to make it so that this project deadline is maybe end of February. And with such, I created it. Now, you can see here that, again, once again, this is a widget in my dashboard. This is the project planning widget. And in this project planning widget, I have a few things I can do. I can see a summary. I can see tasks, scheduling, dependencies, members, and so on. Now, ideally, you start in the tasks where as a professor, I am going to do, for example, task 1. I can give details of task 1, steps, for example, 1, 2, 3. I can assign it to a specific people. Again, I'm going to assign it to Kiran, and I can give him a duration where I expect him to be to finish this, for example, 3 days, or in terms of just setting a date. I can create this. So, of course, one of the things, and this is why we do it in the platform, is because I can put attachments. These attachments could be documentations or could be parts. Okay, could be either. And I can set the repository. Basically, what the repository here means is the 3D space, and in this case, of course, going to be from project car, and I can save it. Now, one thing that, again, the professors will very much like to see is I'm going to just make a few dummy tasks here. Task 2, and just close. Task 3. So ideally, once a student, let's say right now I have a task from my professor, ideally I can just take it and put it into in work so that my professor knows that I have this under work. And once I am done with this, I can, for example, let's assume this task, I've finished this task, I can put it as completed. The nice thing is I can go to summary and it will automatically be updated with a lot of information about the task I have at hand. If I have milestones, of course, they will be mentioned here, but for the task, I can see that I have 3 total tasks, 1 in to do, 1 in work, and 1 is completed. There is no task as risk in terms of any person being delayed in the grand scheme of timeline. And I can see the task burn down rate and a lot of resources being used here as well. So, and even who delivered, uh, the persons delivered. And so this really gives an bird's eye view to professors, and it gives them that ability to quickly view the projects they have at hand and the associated, the associated students, if anyone is falling behind, anyone needs help. And this is something you would never have been able to do beforehand. Now you can also have a schedule where you can see that these tasks, this is for example, the end date I set for the project, and so this is the complete project, and these tasks, you can see them as they build up. It's nice because you can also, for example, ch change the length, or I can drag them, and I can set up. I'm not sure if we have any experienced project management people, but okay. So I had an error here because this has exceeded my end date. So I'm gonna just, yep. I can set dependencies where I, for example, say that task 1, for example, cannot start until task 3 is done. So I can just connect dependencies between these. So now my program knows that the 3D Cleans knows that this task can only be started after this task is finished. And you can see and view all the dependencies. This is something nice because ideally, professors can have this set ahead of time, and they can have this template in the dashboard. Like they can have pre-configured dashboards with everything for this specific project. It could be the F1 car project, for example, and every single semester when a new batch comes in, they can have 4 different dashboards created with that same template. Because if I go back here and just click on creating dashboard, I can click and create a dashboard from a template. So ideally, if you have a class that's mechanical designer class, for example, you would have a dashboard that is already created, the template already created, and you're just basically creating that template again for a new batch or a new group. And it would have all the tasks. That dashboard can have all the tasks already set up, and you can just come in and you can tell the students, I have included you in this dashboard. You can um, assign yourself these tasks. If you wish, you can add more tasks, but please do not delete any of the tasks. And that brings us to the member tab, where you basically can add any of the members. Again, you have 3 attributes, where the author is the ideal one for students. And a leader, for example, could be the teaching assistant of the professor. A viewer, as the name states, someone that can view but cannot make any changes. Um, the only difference the leader makes here is the leader is able to change the structure of the dashboard. So if a student comes in with an author attribute, they cannot change the structure of the dashboard, which is something very convenient because professors ideally don't want this template to be changed. Now, with that said, I have essentially finished the demo, but there is a sneak peek that I wish to show you, because we've been working, we work on projects from time to time, and I can show you, for example, a few sneak peeks of things that maybe will um, show you exactly why this communication between the platform is required. So this is a project, and this is a dashboard within the project. And what you see here is an Nuvia product called the product structure, um, and it's done here with the CATIA 3D component. So even CATIA has some functionalities that are put into widgets. Um, I have this project, which is a car. So the nice thing is that when I make a product or a part or an assembly, I can access it from outside here. As a professor or as a student, I can showcase it here. I can showcase the full bill of materials of that part. I can, for example, let's say I want to um, remove some sections. I can like remove some parts. I want to see the chassis part of it. I can simply just, move around the part, observe as a professor, for example, um, how it has been done, which is something, again, it's very nice. The same list you say here is that's the engineering bill of materials. The same list can be used if you wish to maybe add, like, assuming that this big assembly now is composed of 4 assemblies. If I wish to add another assembly to these, I can. If I make, for example, a spoiler for the car, I can simply create it as a part and then call it and then include it, for example, at the back end of the car. One for other example, for let's say a smaller but a bit more complicated assembly I wish to show you is this assembly. So now this assembly is actually, it's not something as complicated as a car, but it has a bit. This particular assembly has more parts. Now, if I come here and I double click at the top side again, if I double click here, I'm gonna have it full screen. Something I like to see, again, for people to view and understand products. I'm gonna click here on the edit structure, and you can see how it disassembles the assembly for me to smaller parts. And if I wish to look at, for example, this harness, I can double click, and now I am viewing this harness. So again, this is really is the value of the platform. It allows you When I say communication, it's communication. You feel connected with the professor. The professor feels connected with the courses they give and the people they teach. And students themselves, they feel connected with the community and they feel connected with the other people of similar interests. This is something we've heard a lot of complaints about it. It's because students, they're not really collaborating with other students in the same university with the same interest. And these communities are something that will can build up that communication. Not only that, but also it is something that can easily make students convey from a specific interest to another interest. Like it can build up your interest as a student because you're using all of these advanced tools. Now, okay, because of time, and I am going right now to move into um, the learning library. I'm going to go quickly over the learning library. So the learning library ideally is you can access it by Googling edu space. It's something that also you are supposed to receive when you get invited to the platform. And I'm going to show you why this library is so important. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so I am right now in eduspace.3ds.com, and I am going to go to catalog. And because ideally, this is how I would advise you to navigate. Go to catalog and click on education experiences library and navigate to education experiences for future of 3D design. This is a very nice course where it would go through the basics of teaching you how to use the basic design models in CATIA 3D experience. It starts, as you see, from level 1 up at the level 10. It has a lot of workshops. It starts from creating basic sketches, but parametric designs, and it grows as you go with more complicated parts. You can see I'm gonna just enter one of them to just showcase how it works. A lot of the times it will explain any theoretical knowledge that you require before you start. It will give you an overview of the entire project or workshop, and then so starting from the problem statement and a step-by-step solution with videos included that take you over each of the steps that are required. Okay, there are tools that will explain to you designing parts. There are tools that will explain to you assemblies, simulations, structural simulations, electromagnetic simulations, and the beauty of it, you already have access to all of them, all of the solutions we have. Even if it's a package that you do not have, the knowledge of it, you already have it here. And this will make you build up that knowledge, that hands-on experience, and you know the basically the imagination and the innovation that we wish for you to build up. There is also different topics. If I come here, I can search any specific topics I wish. If there's a specific role, if there is anything, for example, if I'm interested in composites, I can see that there are composite related classes. It could be sometimes for specific applications, as you can see here, marine and offshore. A lot of times it's also about aircrafts and mobility vehicles and so on. Now, with that said, again, this is something very powerful, very important, and I wish this to be the first step in the introduction of the platform where the admin is supposed to invite the students. As you can see here, I myself have been taking courses in different topics and different applications, either in mobility or in aircraft and so on. With that said, there is also certifications that you can take from our tools. So these are certifications. I'm gonna, for example, let's look for electrical and fluid design. just as an example, this is a path that you have, and it's going to start by any prerequisites you need, even to start using the platform. And whenever there's a certification, it's going to tell you that this is certification. The certification is something that you can take. Ideally, you should communicate with your administrator to also know more about accessing these certifications. There are two types of these certifications. I'm going to go through them in a bit, but what I want to is, because my time is basically up and I need to hand over to Kiran, I'm just going to go briefly back to my presentation, where I just give you a brief idea of the packages we have. So as I explained before, we have different packages for different fields or interests, whether it is simulation, design, manufacturing, project management, and so on. To know more about these packages, you can always reach out to us. These packages, as you can see from the demo and from here, they come with pre-configured tools. So ideally we can ask you for the specific applications you're looking to do and the required package to get. And they also come in pre-configured sizing, from starting from 30 users and up to 900 users. As I mentioned, there are certifications. There are two types of certifications, associate and professional. While associate certifications are introductory and have 75% success rate, the professional certifications have more of a 30% success rate. And as I mentioned, these tools are used by really big names in the industry. And these people, also these big companies that have used these tools, they appreciate a certified individual in said tool. So it's something that we always push our clients, whether are in academia or actually in the industry, to get certified and have that career growth within reach. Now, with that said, we are going to move to part two of the demo. Um, but before that, I just want to take some time to remind you that you can always ask questions in the top right side corner. Um, and with it, I'm handing over to Kira. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Zaurab. Thank you so much for that session. And I would like to thank each and every one who's present here today for giving me the opportunity to be showcasing what 3D Experience CAD or 3D Experience CATIA CAD is from a perspective of a designer. Since we've got roughly around 1 hour and 30 minutes, I want to quickly go ahead and explain to you how we're going to go through the session. So the session is basically created with two sets. One being the fact that we will go through step by step on a process on how to work around the UI of CATIA 3 Experience to build the part in terms of the part development. And the second part of the session, of course, you're going to get a 15 minutes break after that. You're going to get 15 minutes break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work on a session together where I'll be giving you an exercise and we will. So before I start off, a quick introduction of myself. My name is Kiran Babu. I'm the industry process consultant here at Launch Tech. What do I do? I basically work with corporates and commercial firms across the Middle East in helping them to onboard them to 3D Experience platform, work out different projects if required as a hand-holding session, and then try to really help them gain the confidence and the value from not just from a design perspective, but also from a process perspective, industrial process perspective as well. So for the session that we're going to start off, I'm going to quickly go in and uh, set the stage here in a manner of speaking, is that you and I are going to work as team members who's going to work on a project. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you as somebody who is a team member, an engineer, a mechanical design engineer, and we've got a project to work together. And this is basically to show you maybe during your projects, maybe doing your capstone or any kind of projects that you're running the within your university, how can you go ahead and quickly set up the entire premise and start developing a part? Okay. I'm also going to share you some real life examples that something that I'm currently working on with another firm, so that just so that you can get an idea of how in the corporate commercial world, how do you work with the entire platform. there are multiple facets that's been described by Zorub regards to the platform. Now, before I set this any further, I need to be very clear here. I've got a decades of experience working with CAD, CAM, and CA applications within Dassault systems. So that means, why do I say this? Is that means I have a career where I've worked previously on CATIA V5, and then I onboarded onto 3DEXPERIENCE, uh, the platform as such. Now, this is the 6th year running for me within the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, and I'm going to share certain things which is going to maybe help you as set as the best practices while working on the platform, just to make sure that your workflow is more seamless when you're working on the tools. Okay, so here we go. So So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and develop. So I've got my manager calling me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we've got this tool that has to be developed. Basically, what we're looking at is a 2D drawing, right? A projected drawing, which we need to convert from a 2D perspective to a 3D model. Okay. Now, um, I'm going through this entire, the 2D drafted model. I'm trying to see the different measurements, the form factor of how it has to be built, and what's the thickness, and all those sorts of information is coming across to this. Now, um, I want to make sure that I don't want to go to multiple files or multiple folders within my system. Since I'm using a collaborative platform, truly, I want to make sure that everything is available to you as soon as I start a session working within the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Now, what do I mean by this? So basically, you can see that I've opened the PDF or the document that was sent to me via an email in a different browser or a different tab. Now, I want to integrate everything, and I want to make sure that I have one place in which I'm trying to develop the model. I have informations regarding the model, and so on and so forth. So how do I do this? What I do first is I go to your 3DEXPERIENCE platform, and Zorab did a wonderful job explaining the different features here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and first quickly create a dashboard. Okay, I'm going to name this dashboard as part development. Okay, and I'm going to say that I'm going to describe a bit of a project. I'm going to say it's part development uh, ex exercise. Okay, so this is just for me. I'm going to create it as an empty dashboard. I've got an empty dashboard. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want my PDF, basically my problem statement or the task that's been assigned to me. I want this information to be within the platform, easy to access. So when I start creating a new dashboard, I get a new tab. Okay, so I can go ahead and make sure that we have, let's say, part dev, uh, I don't know, maybe say 2D. Okay, so this is going to be having all the information regarding my part. In this case, I'm going to have this document, which is going to help me to understand the features, the size, the dimensions, the tolerances, and all that information. So how do I bring this into this dashboard? So this is what I'm creating for myself to make my life easier while I develop the part, and making sure that every information that I have in regards to that part is stored here. So if you have a project, this is where you start. You develop a dashboard, you collect all the information that you require, congregate in one space, create multiple dashboards, create multiple, no, not multiple dashboards, single dashboard with multiple tabs, and organize it the way you see fit. Now, how I personally do this is in order to bring the option to bring on information here is I would highly suggest you to start, looking at how we can use what we call as a 3D drive. Now, 3D drive is basically kind of a, it is a Google Drive, and essentially a cloud space where you can have all your information uploaded in terms of your PDFs, your Word documents, your videos, whatever, right? Any content that you require, you can be onto a particular drive which resides within the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Once you have this information, you can also give this information to other members in the platform and tell them, hey, I want you to look at this video. I want you to look at this particular design. I want you to look at this particular documentation. So when you start a project, you can create a dashboard for that project. You can create a 3D drive content space where you can share all the ideas and information that you have in regards to this. So what I'm going to do is, this is my 3D drive here, right? I'm going to go into my files, and I'm going to click on my files. This is the tab which shows the files I have. I'm working on robotics, uh, robotics project here. So I had some information that's loaded onto a folder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just upload a file from my local local drive here. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to click on open. Okay, file is adopted. Voila, right? Now it's now within my 3D drive. Now, in order to bring it onto my dashboard, what I can do is you can go to 3D drive here. So this is where I search for the application. That's 3D drive. Okay. And whenever you see an icon with a small arrow on top, it means it's a widget. A widget is something is basically an application that you can drag and drop on your dashboard. The application can differ in capability from app to app, but this particular app, widget, which is the 3D drive here, is going to give me access to all the folders that I've created within my 3D drive space. Okay. Now I can go ahead and click on my PDF, and voila, perfect. So now from here, I have my information. So now I'm on the platform, I have the information, the kind of work I need to do. So I can maximize, minimize, whatever, and I can start looking at the images. So this is now the entire document is here, and I can start working off from this. Okay. So once I spend some time looking into this 3D drafted model, I'm going to now when we now start thinking about how do I sequence the different functions and operations and the way I'm going to build the 3D model. Now, there's a rule of thumb, which is basically you are able to go ahead and look at creating features, creating different type of features in your product. But what we do is we started with the main body and start adding to it different functionalities, different features, and then you build you dress it up with dress-up features like fillets and chamfer and so on and so forth. So you start with the main base body, build your way up from there, apply more features in terms of pockets, whatever is required, pockets, fillets, and so on and so forth. So this is what we're going to do. So let's start directly now working on the design model. Okay, so how do we go ahead and start working on part design? So I'm going to switch between the word called as the URL and CATIA. It means that right now you're working on a web browser. Whenever you want to start designing, you will actually have to work on what we call as a native app or native application. It's basically an application that's installed onto your system, which will help you to go ahead and do all kind of authoring activities. When I say authoring, I mean anything to do with developing a 3D model, a 2D sketch, anything that you're going to practice building or designing, it's going to be done on the native app. So in order to initialize the native app, I I generally come here, I go to my 3D Compass, click on 3D Compass, I put the name of the app, okay, and I click on the app I need. So once I click on this app, it's going to go ahead and launch the application, okay. So I'm going to let that launch. There we go. So whenever you launch your application, what happens is you end up with a default physical product or a physical workspace. So you can see that I've already now moved into my CATIA part design as an application. Two things you need to be careful about is Zorab explained to you a concept of your 3D space. Basically, it's nothing but the projects, the different projects that you're working on. So let's say you created a project for your Capestone project and you called it as, I don't know, drone. Okay. But before you start working on any kind of part for that particular drone project, you'll have to make sure that you have selected the correct collaborative space. Okay. So in this, you can see I'm have access to different projects that I've been working on. And Zorab recently created a project called as FN Project Car. I do have access to it. How do you switch over? It's as simple as clicking on that particular project, giving the system time to switch over from a different different collaborative space or different project to this project that you require. So very, very important. So number one rule of thumb, make sure when you open the application, you make sure that you go into the relevant the project that you are intending to use. Perfect. Now, once this is set, I am in the part design application. If I want to go ahead between different applications, I can go ahead from here. I can click on the same compass and I can put in the name I require. For example, if I want to go to surface design, I can go to surface design and move into different applications. One which is relevant to me, of course, I want to click on that and it'll change over to the surface design workbench. Okay. Um, so Since we are now set within the Power Design workspace, what I'm going to do is, this is the rule of thumb. I'm going to work, I mean, treat me as someone who's working as a designer who's moved into 3D Experience platform, who's got basically some years of experience using CATIA V5. So what does that mean? It means that I'm transitioning and migrating into a new platform. So the first thing is I'm going to make sure all my fundamentals are set in place. One is I've moved into the correct project. Next is I have the structure, the product structure here deployed. Once I have this deployed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, go to properties, very, very important. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to set the name of the product, okay? Because this is not only going to help you to build a better assembly if you're going to build an assembly, but it's also going to help you to search for this particular part after you built and saved it, okay? Now, you can give in different informations. Here I've given it as, I've given the title, and I don't have anything else to change. I'm going to click on apply and I'm going to click okay. So this would be the name that my product is going to be called and saved within the PLM system or within the 3D Experience platform. Now, since I have that out of the way, the next thing what I would like to do is I would like to make 3D Experience or make the CATIA environment more favorable to me as a designer, which means I'm going to work on two different metrics here. In the CAD world, we have something called a CPO, which means click per operations. Basically, it's the way to reduce the number of clicks to achieve the, I need lesser number of clicks to achieve the feature or design faster. So in order to do that, for me as a person, the way I like to do is I like the environment to be a little more reactive, a little more quicker of my liking. What do I mean that is when you start 3D Experience the first time you launch it, it's going to open in this environment which is for rendering. It's going to give you more shadows. It's going to give you a little bit of material finish and all that stuff. So I don't truly need that because I need all the space. I need all the computation power for helping me achieve the model faster. So what I do for that is I go, once the UI is up, I right click here, I go to display, okay, and I click on the action pad here. Now, what is the action pad? Action pad is basically a toolbox of collecting all the necessary tools I need to use for developing my part or do my sketch or whatever workbench you're in. So I like to customize this and keep it ready. And this is for my liking. You can too. So if you want to go ahead and work on action pad, what we can do is you can come to your tools option here and you can go here and click on action bar customization and you can create a new group of adding different parts to it. And if you want to display the action pad, you can go to the option here called as action pad and then display it. Okay. Now, once I've activated this for my session, for my login, it's going to stay like this till the time I deactivate this. So any workspace that you get into, you'll still have an action pad. Of course, you can configure it to your liking the way you want it to have, what it be presented. Okay, so I have the action pad. Now, before I start the actual design, I want to take you through the UI. Um, as you know, when Zora was talking about the different CAD applications within 3D Experience, you have CATIA being one of the prominent ones, the legacy ones, and then we also have SolidWorks as well. So 3D Experience is a kind of the 3D Experience CAD portfolio that we have is kind of a marriage between both these worlds to make both these worlds to be little more closer to it and to use what skill set they have in these different applications and bring it onto the platform. What do I mean by this is, for example, if you are somebody like me who is an active CATIA V5 user, I want the navigations or the mouse or the response of the mouse to be more CATIA V5 like. Similarly, if you're a SolidWorks user, you can also have, you want to make sure your navigation, your mouse clicks, the way input is given, certain preferences for how you use in SolidWorks also to be onboarded to the platform. Why do I say this? Because this is possible. So whenever you want to work on any key settings within the platform under the CAD, what we can do is we can click on the icon here, which shows you the logo of your username, and go into preferences. Okay, and in the preferences tab, what you can do is come to common preferences. Okay, click on profile, and when you say profile here, you can get this option called as profile management, and you can switch through different application that is. Of course, there's only SolidWorks, CATIA, 3D Experience Legacy, and 3D Experience, since SolidWorks is now from the same family. So you can set it to SolidWorks and click on apply your mouse, the way it prefers. There's certain core certain computation that also changes based on how the SolidWorks has in their legacy product as well. So if you want to know more about what's happening, I mean, what happens when you are into such options. So anytime you click on an option here and you want to know more about it, just click on the players, click on the panel, the profile basically, or in the profile tab now. Click on that and click on F1. You will get what we call as the user assistance. I highly recommend for engineers, I would call you future engineers who are working, who has previous experience either in CATIA V5, SolidWorks, any other CAD, who are onboarding onto this. I highly recommend to use this application because this will now set the premise on you understanding the tool a little more better. Why do we recommend this? Because I use this extensively during the time when I was trying to migrate from older applications to the new one. So here in this case, what does this mean? When I choose the profile as SolidWorks, what does it mean? So it applies mouse controls, graphic preferences of SolidWorks users to the 3D Experience platform uh, app that you're in right now. Okay, it's not just for this, it's also for other different options that you can use throughout the application, not just for the preferences, but also for these tools that we have here. Okay, so now once we have that out of the way, I told you about the action pad, and I told you about how we can set the preferences based on your user style. Next, what I would like to very much recommend is that whatever you're working with the 3D Express platform, the tool sections, you have, I mean, since you're going to start working on it, you want to figure out which option is where and what does it do and so on and so forth. You usually would start off like this, which is a minimized view, which does not have a textual information of the product, of the feature. You can directly right click on any of the tab there and just say display icons text. So this is another thing that I want you to do. Once this is set, the next what I will do is I'm going to still work on the I'm going to still now work on the performance. The performance being is the again the display of how the performance, how does the ambience actually is. Now I told you this ambience is set to high rendering. I don't want to use that much computation power for rendering because I'm still developing the part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ambience. I'm going to set it to blue design, and right, I'm also going to keep it basic. Okay, so this is basically, you can go ahead and toggle between how you want to keep this. My personal preference is the fact that I'm going to keep it in blue design. Okay, fantastic. So we have our environment to start working on the product. Now let's quickly move back to the design, and I'm going to start developing the main body as to speak, because that's where I get most of the information in terms of the area and all that uh, information in terms of the basic geometry sizing. So in order to do that, based on this, sorry, just give me one minute. Based on this design, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and develop the main body area, being this. So developing the main body area, I'm going to look at the different dimensions I need to work with. Generally, a rule of thumb is when I started, working on CAD from my previous years, I always train my mind not to look at the features directly, but I need to look at the main body, the basic shape, and from there I start developing it, because this will help me to control features as it change. When you work on your capstone project, or when you work on projects, what happens is you start with a concept, and that's eventually going to change, and you do not have, you might not have, what do you call, control over it, because it could change because of the physics, it could change because of no dimensional clearance, it could change because it cannot be manufactured in that way, so on and so forth. So different reasons for it change. So I like to keep my model as parametric, as dynamic as possible, so that I can quickly make those changes as well. So this means that I start off with the main body, and then I start refining it based on how we like to achieve it. Okay. So in order for starting to develop the main body, I know now that I'm going to use a section here, which is going to be having, let's start from here. So we have the understanding of it to be 70 in total length. There's a draft of 5 degrees, and there is a shell thickness, and then there are quite a couple of sections across different features. Okay, so let me start developing this. Now, what do I mean by the main body? I come here, okay, I'm going to start working on, obviously on the first plane. So I'm going to start off working with uh, sketching, right? I'm going to start with the first sketch. So here I'm going to start off with my YZ plane. I highlight the YZ plane, and you can see there are different tabs for different operations. Now, it's basically the tabs and the functionalities are driven by what it says. So essential basically means all your bare necessities or bare required functionalities. For example, in terms of sketch, in terms of features such as dresser features, then you have your sketch-based features, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to usually use this because I told you, I'm somebody who wants to make my clicks fast and get my model quick and running. So I don't want to sit and turn around and look at these options, but yes, it gives you an idea of where these options are located within the entire UI. So let me start off with the first sketch. So we are in YZ plane, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and work on my first sketch. So I don't need to really go to my first sketch as such like this. Like I told you, I can select the entity and I can directly go into my action pad and go ahead and start sketching. Okay. Now, the first feature I'm going to do is basically I'm going to create a profile. So you can now see that the mouse cursor and the profile is going to snap to the grid lines. Now, I don't want this. I want it to be, I don't have flexibility on creating where my profile has to exist. So how do I switch that off? Again, you can now come to sketch, okay, and you can see there are different options here. So in terms of looking for where do I switch off the constraints, is basically I can come into my sketch bar here, okay, and I can come here to the end, and here I'll have the option to snap the point. So now that was activated. Now when I switch it off, yeah, what's going to happen is that now I have the liberty of creating it wherever I like the profile. Okay. So I like this for a fact is because now within the 3D experience, you actually, when you start off an initial point, it's going to start giving me the gradual understanding of what your um, profile size is, or in terms of the line, it would be the length. So I'm going to click up a quick profile here, and I'm going to create this profile here, right? I'm going to walk you through what I liked and what I learned within when I started working through experiences. So once I have the basic profile, correct? Now, whenever I click on the profile here, what happens is it automatically now gives me options and tells me what are the possible options for the sections that you've created. Now, this is very important to me because this reduces the time for me to go and search for the option and quickly get me to adapt it to the design intent that I want to achieve. So here we go into constraint, and I'm going to now start developing the constraint. Now, I'm just looking at the design in another monitor here. So this would be 15. I would say yes. And then I click on, so I click here, I click here. Okay. And then I click here. So let's say we want to select two items and then we want to go ahead and select a constraint. Not a problem. Just use control, select the elements at hand. And yes, it's going to give you an option so between a single selection or multiple selection, it's still going to work and give you the right recommended. So we have 35 there. I'm going to just create this. I'm going to go ahead and create 12. Okay. Now, rule of thumb, I have to make sure now when you work on constraints, there's a concept of it being over constrained, under constrained, and ISO constrained. So over constrained is obviously by the name, which is you have applied multiple constraints and the sketch has become redundant. Under constraint is you're not constrained enough, and ISO constraint is that you have constrained everything properly in order to make a parametric change. Now, it displays in different color. Over constraint being in red color, it denotes the entire sketch outline red color. If you are under constraint, it's in white. And if you're ISO constrained, it would represent the entire profile in green. This is not good enough for me because I need to make sure there are no open corners. There's no any kind of reference points which is left out of the sketch, or open sketch reference points which I've missed or I forgot to delete while I'm doing the design. So just to make sure, a rule of thumb and a practice that I keep to this day is I work on the sketch analysis, which basically analyzes sketch. So if I want to go to analyzing the sketch, I would go to the analysis tab. and I can go here and check for my sketch analysis. Now, very important tool while developing the sketch. This is going to show me that if my sketches are closed, how many curves, what are the kind of curves, and if they're constrained. So here I'm understanding the diagnostics, which is basically each line or each sketch or each element that I've created, what is the status. I like what I see because all of them are ISO constrained. So that's good. So once that is done, now how do I exit from the sketch? Now, regardless, when you start working with these different applications from time to time, whenever you want to work on anything to exit and to come back, it's going to be exit app. It's going to be under the standard. It's going to be exit. Okay. Are you with me so far? Is there any questions? Is this good enough? Are you able to follow what I'm trying to put across? I like this to be interactive. Okay, good. So now once this is being created, let's go ahead and apply my features. Now, usually what do I mean by features is I'm going to look at my design again and I'm going to create the main block. Here, the main block is going to be a padded element. So the padded element in order to achieve. Now, again, now understand this, I'm out of the sketch and I've become now come into the 3D model space. So any element that I click on right now is going to give me recommendations of the different functions within that particular workbench. So earlier I was in sketch, so it gave me sketch functions. Now I'm in part design, it's going to give me part functions, part design workbench. Now, as soon as I click on this element, it's going to give me an option of pad. I highly recommend that you do not do this because reason being is it's not a good practice. The best practice is when you are very sure about the sketch that you're going to work on, please always go to your structured product structure tree and select the search for, making sure that you're selecting the right sketch context to be used for any of your features or functions that you want to achieve. So I select the sketch function and then I come into my pad limit. Uh, so here by the sketch, I'm going to apply this as 70 mm. Let us see that preview. Okay, that's good. Perfect. So I've got the first main body. Okay, I'm done that. And now the next is I'm going to go ahead. So if you see in the sketch, right? I'm going to now create this clip. So I hope you can see where the clip is. You can see the clip here. Now, this is another feature, which is because it's outside you can see that the clip is outside the walls, it's bounding by the walls. So I would like to create that feature because I've created the main base body, correct? So in order to do so, what I'm going to do is I'll turn up to that particular functionality here. Okay. Um, there was a question asked sometime before is how do we go ahead and look at the material, get the shading of the material shading. So anything to do with view, okay, anything to do with the shading or the properties or how it has to look in terms of the grid lines or the contour lines, you can go to view tab, go to view modes, and then select the app, select the different environments that you want to be in. So I can select the environment I want to be in. This is what I'm comfortable with, and I can. So if I don't want to, contour lines or silhouette lines, I can also do that as well. Okay. So that would be view modes. Thank you for the question. Moving forward. Now, in order to develop the plane or the sketch for the clip, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now click on. So if I look at the design here again, give me a moment. I know that the clip is an offsetted around 22 from the ZX plane. Okay, so I know that this is going to be around 22 by looking at the offset plane here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an offset plane. So I click on my plane and I click on my plane here. So my offset plane, it has to be on 22, not around, exactly 22. Perfect. So now I've got offset plane. Going back to my YZ plane, I'm going to go ahead and develop a sketch. The sketch here is going to be, I'm going to go by sketch. I develop a profile. I'm going to get the profile. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. I think that's good. I'm going to constrain it. So now So I've got the basic sketch here. So just to rephrase, I am working on this end here, right? I'm trying to get this clip, which you can see section D, section D is right here, right? I'm trying to get this profile up and running. So coming back here, I've created the generic profile, and now, okay, I am going to go ahead. Now, here, I want this particular line or this particular edge to be coinciding with the profile face there. So what I can do is I can right click and then say coincidence. And then what I can also do is we can also go ahead and create up the, yeah, let's just bring this here for a moment. Yeah, there we go. Let's just bring that there just for the ease sake. Okay, so once I've done this, what I can do is I can go ahead now and select this profile and this profile here. Yeah, I'm going to select that. Right, so now what I have to do is, now when you're working on sketches, you want to go ahead and hide and unhide. It's again, right click and hide, right? And now I can go ahead and select that, keep that. What else do I need? I need the clips to be, okay, so this is going to be, if I look at the design again, it's going to be around 2 mm. Okay, I got that. This is going to be 9. I'm just chalking out the main dimensions. Yeah. Okay, so now that's done, and then we have yeah, let's get these guys to be now symmetrical. So what I'm doing here right now is I have to now exhibit a symmetry between these two inclined lines. So I can right click on it, select on my dimensions, again, right click again and allow symmetry line. I choose this plane. Voila. I've got that done. The angle I need to maintain between this plane and this, I have to maintain at 5 degrees. Okay, so it looks constrained, but you know, devil is in the details. So let me just go ahead and just check my sketch. Okay, perfect. It's good. Now, once that is done, I'm exiting. Okay. Now you see that my profile has been hidden. Where does it all go? To see the hidden part of the space, hidden part of the assembly space, what you do is you go here, you go to the hidden space. Okay. Now I can go here, select my entity that I need to unhide, and I'm back. Okay. So just one second. Let me just see if I've dialed everything in correctly. 592. Yeah, let me just, this is not 2. Sorry. Okay, let me go back to my, sorry. Let me go back to my, yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, so that's fine. Right. So now, once I'm done with that, let me go ahead to my, sorry. So now I've got the basic feature. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of my sketch. I'm going to apply pad and I'm going to restrict it to mm. Perfect. So I've got my 2 mm pad run right there. Okay. Now, once I've done this, now from the design, again, sorry, from the design, I understand that I have achieved most of my, you know, basic shapes or basic profile shapes. Now, what I do is now I'm going to start working on the intrinsic or towards the internal functions or internal, internal forms and features. So I've got the overall shape done. Now I'm going to start working on the intrinsic feature. So to start working on the internal intrinsic feature, before that, let me go ahead and apply few dresser features, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I know from the design, okay, let me just pull that again. I know that we have a default draft angle of 5 degrees. So I need to achieve a draft angle for that. So how do you achieve a draft? Again, go here and suppose you have the option called as draft. Otherwise, you can always go into your, your options here. In this case, if you're looking for dress up features, it's available in your refine tab. But I'm going to use my action pad. So it's going to be draft, correct? And I'm going to start defining the draft angle. So I know the overall draft is going to be mentioned. There's going to be an overdraft of 5 degrees. I'm going to make sure the faces of the draft has been selected. I'm going to select, voila, 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 voila. And, right, I think that was good. Did I miss anything? No, that's good. Yeah, of course. Okay, perfect. So that's my drafts, and I have neutral faces, of course. So neutral faces being this as my neutral face. I'm happy with that. And I'm also going to look at the pulling direction. In this case, I would like it to be this along this direction. And I'm going to make sure my draft direction is uh, across this way, because this is what I'm looking at. So what is a draft angle? I'm mentioning an angle of 5 degrees, and I'm going to click OK. Perfect, right? Okay, so I've achieved that. Next, quickly, let's move into the applying more dresser features. So here in the case, I'm going to apply fillets. So let's click on fillet. Fillet. This is by the design. This is going to be 1 mm. I'll click on OK. I've got that done. Then let's look at the edges here. So quickly go to the edges. Okay. So again, we can look at the edge fillets. Control select. You don't need to control select, actually. Just have to open this object bar here and go ahead and, you know, and you can, if you've made an, incorrect selection, of course, you can come here and uh, create up another feature for you to select across as well. Okay, so you can delete it from here. Okay, you've got one selection in. You can look at another one there. Yeah, I'm going to speed up here. I'm going to look at another one here, another one here. I'm happy with it. Uh, let's say this is going to be, I'm looking at the design again. I'm looking at 2. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. And then also looking at the design, I see that there's going to be another edge fillet, which is going to be again 2 mm across this face. Perfect. Okay. Now, once this has been set, now again, so overall feature is being achieved. Now, let's start working on intrinsic or internal features. So basically, when I look at the design again, internal features, let's start off with this area here, right? Which is the C section. So C being detailed here. So this is what I would like to achieve now, right? So it's 3. I've got distances from the edge to be 1.2, then 2.9 the overall size from here, and 5 degrees as the angle. Okay, so going back to your sketch now. I like to the way I say it is I like to keep my product structure clean. So if you are trying to achieve anything which is internally processed within the platform, you need to make sure that it's kept clean so that we can always come back to the design and make the relevant changes. So for here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a recess. That's what we call for that particular whole pocket there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch. Before I go ahead and create a sketch, I'm going to create the sketch on this plane here. So I click on the plane, I click on the section. Now you can see that the plane now cuts through the the model, the solid model. So if I want to work on either on this view, or if I want to go ahead and look at it from a from a more substantial method, is that I can set it to my normal view here. I can also work within the different views. So this is basically flipping the model on its axis to see if I can work from a better angle. So looks like I'm the right spot, and we can get working on this. So I also like to work on this cutting plane, which is basically if I'm working with the internal part of the model, I can use this cutting plane here. Again, cutting plane is a mode of viewing, so you'll find it at the viewing tab. Okay, for now I'm going to switch it off. I'm going to make sure I'm in the normal view. I go back to my sketch, start working on the profile. Okay, so going back to this, we have a more of a Z pattern here for the research. So I'm going to try to achieve that. So it's going to go like that, come in like this, and I think there's a bit of an angle. Oh, sorry. I can, sorry. Yes, that's fine. You have here angle, or what I can also do is instead of just working with single line, I'm going to work profiles. Okay. Right. So yeah, I think more or less I've achieved it. I know now it's coincident to this edge because I can see that there is a constraint that's been applied to it automatically. Um, what I'm going to do was let me just fix that constraint. Okay. Um, okay, this is inclined axis. Just give me 1 moment. That's fine. Let me just make that normal view again. Just work a little more closer. Yeah, there we go. And there we have. Um, that's going to be 1.2. If I'm not wrong, correct. It's 1.2. That's good. And then I have, again, it's going to be 3. Perfect. And my overall length, making sure that this is, yes, it's a vertical position. It's going to be 2.9. And there we go to the angle. Let's set the angle to this line here, and then angle has to be maintained. If I am right, it has to be 5. Yes, I am right. So now that's going to be 5 degrees. Perfect. So now that's been set. Let me exit out. I'm going to apply a negative operation here, which is going to be what we call as a pocket. And I am going to go ahead and use. Okay, so this is basically a standard model. I'm going to use a mirrored model here. Okay. And let me just call this. Yeah, I think there's a problem because you see when I apply this, right? When I apply my pocket, you can see that it's extending. I don't want to do this because that means in my design, I have, yeah, you see this? This is the problem. So I want this to be this and that. Yep, that's the thing, that's the line. So I want this position, this line, and I want this to be coincidence, right? So I exit out and I create a pocket. And then we have, the position of the pocket. So I'm going to say okay, preview, so on and so forth. So as we create this section, as we create the position of the session, we'll be able to go ahead and create the internal features here as well. Okay. Is there any doubts, or is this something which you're able to follow with me? Okay, I need to go back to my. Yeah, I'm open to any questions that you have to push across this. Is there any questions I can take? Okay, so I think everybody's pretty confident so far. That's good. So let me go back to the recess. Now, when I try to develop this part, what happens is I need to make sure that, of course, there is going to be a recess that's going to be a detent kind of a system for that. You have basically this is the connector, so we can get clipped on. So when we try to create that feature, okay, you have to be absolutely clear that we are looking at the entire part of it as the position that we're going to go ahead and create. So here in this case, we need to make sure that the degrees here is 5 degrees. Then we have 2.9 that's being created, and then the edge to edge is uh, 3, and then we have 1.2. Now, again, whenever you're creating this feature here to this particular position, you need to make sure that it's been coincided correctly onto the frame. Otherwise, you're going to have difference in the feature position. Okay. So what we're going to do is we create this in entirety. I'm going to take a quick, yeah. I'm, I'm going to give a quick 5 minutes break, and we will come back and continue from here and complete this position. There's going to be just 5-10 minutes more of different operations I need to perform, but this is the entirety of how the workflow is going to be. And I'm going to take a quick 5 minute break here. We can take your refreshments, and we come back and complete this part, and then I'll let you for the main break, and then we can start working on the exercise that you have. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Kiran. We can use this, perhaps we can use this break session. If you have any questions, we can make it like a very quick Q&A session for any of the questions you have asked. I think I can see that we already have a few questions. First one is from Noura, and you share the workshop recordings. Yes, Noura, the recording will be shared with you once done and compiled. And then another question we have is, do I have to buy the package in order to do the design? No. And this is from Rania. Actually, Rania, you already have the package. All of what you've seen today, you already have access to it in the UAE University. Um, I can see that there's also another question from Rania. I can't access the same thing on the screen. Is it because of my laptop being a MacBook? It's a very good question, Rania. Actually, what you've seen, the 3D Experience platform, as just like CATIA V5 are only available on Windows-based machines. Unfortunately, these tools are not available on MacBooks. Okay, and I think that is the questions we have received. Um, if you have any other questions, please feel free to share. Um, okay, so Rania, you're commenting that um, that you cannot find the package. Well, if you cannot find the package, this means that maybe you have not invited properly to the platform. This case, you ideally should ask your IT team to assign the engineering experience package, the engineering expert package to you. Um, Someone shared the question if they can find the recording. Yes, so the recording will be sent to you. This recording link will be sent to you through a link email. Okay, I would like to. Someone is asking, how to access the manufacturing package. Now, so as I mentioned, there's different packages for each kind of field. The package you have right now, which is the engineering expert package, is based on 3D modeling. It's a heavy on 3D modeling based package. There is another package that is more dedicated towards production. Is the product or the production engineer package. Um, However, I'm just double checking and confirming if your package has any some sort of maybe of additional capabilities for manufacturing. Just give me a minute. And unfortunately, it does not have any something relevant to manufacturing. However, it does have capabilities related to um, capabilities related to simulations, such as composite structures simulations, durability mechanics, fluid dynamics is actually there as well, plastic injection, and structural performance, which these are used in a way they can be used as a transition between um, your design and manufacturing. Okay. So with that said, if you have any other questions, please keep them here. I'm going to hand it over back to Kieran.
So, starting off where we're left, we were trying to create this recess here. So I'm going to go back to that sketch and I'm going to click on pocket and I'm going to change it up to see the pocket to be here. I want to extend it here to see if I have the correct dimension. So 2.6, 2.6, 1.2, 3, and 5 degrees. Perfect. So I have the recess here. Okay. And now just to top off a couple of features again in terms of the dress up, I'm going to go ahead and create an edge fillet here. That should be uh, 1.5. That's 1.5. That's it. Right. So once that is created, now going back to the design, again, I'm progressing well. I have to now create. Yes, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the housing, the face of the housing. Um, for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create. So this is the feature that I'm trying to create. So that's B2B section here. So when I do the B2B section, this is my B2B section. So I'm trying to create this feature right here. Okay. So the detail view is being projected here. So this is what I'm trying to create now. Okay, so let's begin. So for that, what I'm going to do is it's going to be work off. I'm going to create a offset plane here, offset plane. It's again 35. Boom, I've created the offset plane. Once I create the offset plane, I can now go ahead and create the reset sketch. So I'll click on the plane here. Let me just create this. And now I'm going to create the catch. This is what we call as a catch. Just to get the profile, I'm looking at, I can look at the, I'm sorry, I can look at the drawing again. So it's a profile that has extruded lengths here. And okay, so good. I can work on that. So basically the shape is going to be like that, created on the sides. And then we have a vertical line here and a meter. Okay. Again, rule of thumb, create the feature and then associate it to the existing part body. This is going to be coincidence. I'm going to make sure that this and this, sorry, my point here, and I'm holding control here and I'm selecting that, taking that. I'm looking at the horizontal. Yes, I'm looking at the horizontal view, and that's going to be set at 4. That's set there, and then the overall dimensions is going to quickly be put in, where I'm going to go ahead and value of it as 7. Okay, I like this to be neatly placed so that I have a complete. Okay, and from the design, I know that the top and the bottom edge. So that's the bottom edge here. This is going to be 1, and then so now I now need to get an angle here, right? So this is the angle. Perfect. So now I get the angle here. Let me just put this in normal view again, and that angle is going to be. Let me just go back to that 1.5. Okay, 1.15 degrees. Right. Perfect. That's been done. Now let me exit out of the app. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pad this again. I'm going to make sure that it's going to be mirror extended pad. Again, what's the rule of thumb? Go directly to sketch. pad it, and from the design, I understand it's going to be a 5 mm pad. There, it's been done. So I've designed the catch. Now, all that I've is left is I can now go ahead and start working on the internal cavity. In this case, I'm going to create up a shell. So for that to happen, I'm going to click on my shell command here. I'm sitting on the shell. Uh, yeah, and internal thickness. So I did have the information here. It's 1 mm. The shell thickness is 1 mm. Okay, let's put that 1 mm. Preview. Actually, just go back to the shell. Yeah, go back to the shell. Let me also get these features now. Preview. Okay, so that's a proper clip. Is that a proper clip? Yes, it's a proper clip. Okay, I've got that. Perfect. Now, um, I've shelled the element. Now let's. I think we are almost towards the end. I'm going to go ahead and create up these holes, nice looking holes here, which is going to be used for clamping the entire casing together. So I'm going to work with this CC detail view here. So it's 6.5. We have 3 in the bottom, 3 and 2, and 0.5. Okay, so let's work on this profile first. So for that to happen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my uh, plane. Okay, so that this is going to be offsetted from plane 2. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to offset this plane now from here. I'm going to create that plane here, the distance. So I can directly come into that value. I don't go into the toolbox here directly. And this is because now for me, speed is the essence, right? Because I'm almost done with my design. So now I have the overall size already perfectly maintained. Now I'm going ahead and working on the internal features quickly, which can be achieved. Okay, so I need to flip this. Yeah, this is the way I need to work on. I'm going to go ahead and yeah, this is fine. It's 35, correct? Yeah, I'm good. So I come here and I create the profile now. Again, for the profile, I am looking at the numbers. Okay, so now I go here, I go to sketch. So that's again 4.25 if I'm not wrong. That's correct. Yeah, it's fine. So the sketch is being now positioned. Now this is where you need to work on the part where your constraint is. So I'm going to go ahead and so the moment you're starting to work on the constraints, be a little careful to make sure that you're identifying the right adjacent datum planes for constraining a sketch. Okay, so that's properly there. Good. So that's constrained, and then now I know the distance from here, making sure that I'm selecting the correct elements. Is going to be, what are we looking at? We're looking at 25. Yep, we're looking at 25. Okay. Um, and then we have, let's look at that dimensions as well. So this is going to be 3. I'm going to click on this directly. Now it's just a matter of me putting in the dimensions 3. I've got that locked in. And then I have this. And I have got, okay, it's 2.5. Perfect. And I've got that locked in. I've got 2.5. I've got 4.25. So you can see this now. There's still one constraint under constraint, right? So what does that mean? It means that I come here, I try to look at this value. Yeah, actually, from the design, I know now this is going to be 0.5. Okay, done. I am exiting out of the app, and that we have here now. So this is basically going to be for the feature that we were talking about. Is we're trying to create up this feature here. So let's look at that in terms of shaft. So basically, it's basically revolving around its axis. We are defining the axis here, and boom. So we have got that feature now created, right? So that I get a better view. Good. Now, once that is created, I want to go ahead and make sure that you know you have. So I'm going to be a little cautious here because what I'm trying to do is I'm going to go to and create a center dot or a center point for me. So if, for example, if I select and I create a point here, I can now look at the different options, right? The different options that I need to create. So for example, in this case, if I'm looking at a point and I'm looking at circle, right? I've created a center point there. Now, once I've created that, okay, what I can do is I know that point is going to extend out there, and just being cautious here because if I want to go ahead and now take that point, okay, now I need to take this point here, okay. I need to work on creating up the whole dimensions. So for example, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work on the fact that if I'm going to go ahead and look at my sketch, right? If I look at my sketch is now extruding all the way till this phase. So I have obviously the point located here. So once that has been created, what I can do is now I've exited. So action back minimize to give me more space. I'm looking at whole. Okay. So I'm going to go with, so these are different whole options I have. I'm going to go make sure that my limit is up to last, right? I'm going to set that up to last. I'm going to make sure the direction is normal. I'm happy with that. I'm going to make sure my type is going to be counter button hole, correct? And I'm going to put in the features, which is parameters would be the main diameter 6.5. Okay. And the depth, let me say 2. I just want to make sure that this is also 5. Just a preview. Let's intrude this. Okay, that's so that means I've not got the right whole dimensions to start off with. Okay, so whole again. Okay, that's perfect. Up to last. Um, so this would be diameter is 3. This is 6.5, I believe. If I'm not wrong. Okay, looking at the data here, and 2 mm. So preview. Perfect. So I've got the whole there. Okay. So now that being achieved, I just need the hole on the other side. So I can do multiple things here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my pattern just to show you that, we can use the different options here to go ahead and create a different instance. So, so the pattern that I want to shaft, okay, is basically my, the first I need to go ahead and create. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shaft. Okay. So I go ahead and create a pattern. Um, so which is the objective pattern is I'm going to go ahead with the shaft and with the hole, right? And reference element is this. Sorry, reference element being the fact that it's on the direction. So once I create this, now the idea is to understand what is the spacing that I need to give behind both. I know for a fact that this is a reference direction that I need to set, which is basically, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to select it, and the distance between both would be 50. Preview that. Perfect. Okay, so let me go ahead and, so that means, okay, so that means 1, 2, 3, hide and show. I make sure all my planes are also hidden. Okay, okay, voila. So now once I have the design, I am going to go back and check it again. If I've achieved all the features, the holes, the recess, the housing on top, the clip points, all that is good. Once it's done, I get to do this cool thing, which is basically sit back and look at it from a different perspective. So this basically is a small animation of looking at all my projections. Okay, got a rough angle here. I'm good. Okay, that looks fine. Perfect. There we have the connector housing. And in order for you to save it, you can click Control S directly from the keyboard or come here and click on Save. Now that brings you to the end of the session where we have navigated through the CAD space, used different options between part design, navigating and building the product structure, applying different functionalities and different features directly from an action pad directly onto a derivative context, which means, for example, if I select a feature that I showed you earlier, it's going to recommend me for that particular workspace what are the options that can be used, right? So this is how I like to work. So a couple of things that I personally learned while using the platform or try to, add into my workflow. So one is that whenever you're working on CAD elements, we need to make sure that the platform is set to the way that you are comfortable in working with. One way to do that is making sure that you have all your applications and all the tools in a place. For that, action pad is the place to go, making sure the environment is set into an environment where you are free to work throughout. Action pad and having a good performance on the actual UI, on rotating the model, applying features, it's basically makes you more intuitive to what you're trying to develop rather than going and searching for different applications. Of course you can do it, but this would ease your process and make you much more focused on the intent of the design that you need to achieve. um, Thank you for the opportunity for helping me to show to giving me the opportunity to show you how we go ahead with the workflow. uh, Now, what I'm going to do is I am first going to resume for a break of, let's say, around, I think, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And so that means time being now 4:14. Let's rendezvous back at 4:24. And I'm going to give you an exercise to perform. Exercise is going to be displayed on your screen. So this is the part. Quite simple, I would say, to achieve. It's got a little bit of trick up the sleeves, but yeah, you're gonna have fun developing it. And then I'm going to show you how the entirety of the part development process would look like, and how do you achieve it. Okay. Before I resume for the break, is there any quick questions I can take up in regards to whatever I've showcased so far? Okay, there's some questions. Is there questions I can take up?
Okay. Thank you again, Kiran. So questions are piling in, but I think we can, because I can see that more and more questions are coming in, but I think we can give some time,
Okay.
so people can maybe get accustomed and or take a brief break, and then we can address all the questions in one go uh,
Okay.
after the break.
Sounds perfect. So I will come. Let's rendezvous back at 4:25. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, hello again, everyone. We have a few questions that we can address right now. Okay, so we have one question is asking if you whether you need to install the 3D experience um, in your machine or not. So as you've seen throughout this demo between me and Kiran, um, some functionalities and applications were done on the web interface, while others had to be done on a dedicated installed applications. So as I mentioned, um, some applications would have an arrow sign, and with that arrow sign, um, you'll be able to tell that this is in a web application that is used through your browser. If it does not have that arrow sign, when you click it the first time, it will prompt you to install the 3D Experience Launcher, and then from there, it will also prompt you to install additional applications. It will ask you, for example, when you click on part design for the first time, it's going to ask you, do you want to install the applications associated with part design alone or all the applications that you have access to? And you are free to choose whether of these options. Um, okay, with that said, we have another question. Um, on how to know more about the packaging of the 3D experience. So that's why if you have seen maybe in the chat, there is a link that has been shared. You can access this link and you can see the different packages that we have. Some packages, as I said before, some packages are for designers, while other packages are for simulation-based applications and production and so on. Um, I remember that someone asked about uh, the manufacturing package. So the manufacturing package, if you wish to get access to the manufacturing package, you can reach out to us and we can help you get that added to your portfolio. It includes a lot of functionalities, including additive manufacturing, CNC fabrication, virtual factory, laying out production lines, and so on. We also have one more. Sorry, I'm addressing these questions because so far I don't have any hardcore technical questions for Kieran. Oh, this is one actually. So, Kieran, we have a question whether um, is it possible for a kinematics model to be designed and validated in the 3D Experience platform?
Yes, of course, it can be. So I hope you can see my screen. So in order for you to develop a kinematics model, basically, kinematic model is in essentiality an assembly in which you have defined the joints, basically the degree of freedom of each of these joints. And in order for you to do so, you will have to work in what we call as mechanical system experience. So this is the app which helps you to build up kinematic models and simulate them. So you build up individual parts, you create an assembly, then you define the joints, and then you bring it to this app and create those different mechanisms that you want to simulate, either based on manual propagation or based on a law that you define for that particular joint. So you start with developing the mechanism using mechanical system design. You create a scenario and then you play the scenario to validate the different kind of probes. Basically, you want to know what's the displacement like, what's the acceleration, so on and so forth. So you've got three apps: mechanical system design to design the mechanical model for kinematics, develop the scenario, and then play the scenario.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. Um, and someone is asking if they can open CATIA v5 files on the 3D experience.
Perfect. I mean, this is something which I want to cover as well. So, answer to that again, of course, is yes. I think we touched base on this when you were explaining as well. So, if you have files not just in CATIA but also on SolidWorks, if it could be as SLD, dot .SLD part or dot .SLD drawing, if you are from the CATIA V5 space, if it's dot .cat part, cat product, or any kind of drawings, in order to import those particular files, You can go here and sorry, you can uh, click on this plus symbol here, go to import. You have a small arrow here. So when you click on import, you're going to import .3D XML files, which is native to the 3D Experience platform. If you want to import the CATIA V5 or SolidWorks or so on, I've installed the CATIA V5 connector here, so it's going to show CATIA file here, and I can select. You can see the kind of files that I have here. So now, if I want to import a CAT part, which is the V5 part, I select that CAT part and I click on import. So if I click on OK here, uh, this is your model. So this is the part this is your part, in fact, which is built on CATIA V5 with the complete product data structure intact. Okay.
Okay. Once again, thank you, Giran, for the demonstration. We have one more question, and someone is asking, um, what do you think, based on experience, is the best approach to setting up my constraints for the model?
Uh, when you say experience, can is that question can it be elaborated?
I think they're trying to understand the thought process when you are setting up the constraints of a model.
Okay, so uh, the way I have been doing and I've been trained over the years is, like I told you, when you're trying to develop a body, a solid model, you start with creating the base feature. So, as a designer, it's very, very important to understand how do you go and look at a drawing. So, this is where you have to go multiple drawings and try to go from 2D to 3D conversions. Basically, take a 2D sketch and to develop a 3D model out of it per se. Uh, to understand what would be the base 3D model. For example, in this case, when I look at this model, I try to understand what's the largest feature and which is going to accompany all the features that I require. So basically, this when I look at it from a top view, I understand that the base feature would be a rectangle, and within that bounding box of the rectangle, I have these different features that I can work with, right? Now, in terms of constraints, now this is also it's an excellent question. With terms of constraints, what I would like to personally state is, just give me one moment. Let me just go back to. Okay, so within constraints, what we try to establish is the fact that we are looking at how the model is going to be built from. So we need to understand what's going to be a fixed feature, and on that fixed feature, what can we achieve in terms of different base features. So in this case, if I am looking at, just give me one moment. I'm looking at the structure, right? If I'm looking at the structure here, I'm looking at how we are looking at the different options of building the space creation here. So just give me one moment. Yeah, just setting the setting here. Yeah. So when we look at the base model, so for example, when I start to develop the base model, I have the initial sketch, correct? So in the initial sketch, what we are trying to understand is that if I'm going to start off building up a rectangle, I need to understand what are the locking dimensions. So locking dimensions are base dimensions, which will help me to keep the profile intact. So here in this case, I'm looking at what is the base dimension here. If you ask me, would be 35. And on that 35, I'm going to build different dimensions to support that 35 as a base. So it's basically when we look at the dimensions, the entirety of the idea is to go clockwise. So you start with the base feature, the base dimension, and then you start cycling it on through different other features, because you can have a single dimensions. Once it's been locked, you can associate the rest of the other dimensions. For example, like if I have 35 locked, I know this is going to be the entirety of length. From here I can go ahead and now derive the other dependent direction. So you need to understand the base in terms of the base body, and in terms of the sketch you understand what's the base dimension and then build on top of it. There is no, the rule of thumb is base body and when you base body in terms of modeling, you create the base body and then start adding features to it. The idea is always to build up the exterior part of the part and then start building the internal structures, like the way you can see how I did it. When you talk about constraining the part, the idea is to understand to go cyclic. So cyclic is to understand either you go clockwise or anti-clockwise. I have a habit of going, clockwise. So I start with a base, I locked out the base dimension, and then start, adding the dependent dimensions on top of it in a cyclic manner. So this helps you to do two things. One is, as a designer, when I'm developing this part in my head, I know that I've locked in the base dimension, so everything is going to run up from 35. And when I go cyclic or counterclockwise, when I say cyclic, either counterclockwise or clockwise, I know that I'm not over constraining the part as well.
Okay. We'll then maybe in this case, Kiran, you want to give a quick overview on how it is done, and with that we can conclude after.
Okay, just give me 1 second before I showcase this to you. Is just give me one moment, please. Okay, so the way this part is being built is basically there's a concept within the CATIA portfolio and CATIA hybrid design kind of a methodology where you can actually build up a solid model and then create geometrical specifications. So geometric part body is basically any kind of feature which is required for 3D modeling. Basically, building a methodic 3D model, building a solid model with thickness. You're going to get those features here inside the part body, and any kind of geometrical elements you can create them separately as a geometrical set. So this is just for you to, you know. Uh, Make sure your structure is built in such a way that you have different access point for those features, and the geometric elements and different access points for the pad, right, and for the solid modeling. So it's in its entirety. How is this being built? And this is a tool that you also can use. If you have a 3D model which is already built and you want to see how it's been built from a point of context of what was the first feature that they created, the second, third, and towards the end, right? The entire workflow. What you can do is you can go to, of course, open up the part. And mind you, again, this is a CATIA V5 model, which is completely parametric, and I've got it into the 3D Experience platform. Now, in order for me to review the part, this is how review is generally done. We can go into the review tab here and look for scan and define in workspace, right? So this, what it allows you to do is it gives you this tab here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to the structure. So when I say structure, it's going to follow the structure. But here in this case, I'm going to say update. That means what is the first feature, then what happened next, and so on and so forth. So once I set that to update, I click on back. Now I can see the first feature that's been created. So the first feature was created here was this point, this datum point. Of course, I can click on this datum point and I understand that there was, an offset that was created from the Z component. And once that has been created, let me just go back. The next, what we have done is we have used, a kind of we have defined the sketch, and for that sketch, we have defined this profile. You can also see how it is different in terms of, in terms of how we have developed the part itself. So for example, in this case, we created a pad function like this with a sketch. And then the next is we created the fillets, right? So you can see that it's going through the structure of the development. So then there was this profile that was created at an angle, and then you've given the fillets here, right? And then so on and so forth. Then we have carved out this particular section, and then we have created this profile, overall profile, filleted it, edge fillets, hole, dimensions, hole there. This is in terms of the structure. In terms of update, you'll come to know the exact geometrical elements that we used. So we created a plane, we created a profile. This is the next profile that was created. We created the first, then edge, sections, then the profile to create up the angle and line here, right? And from there, we have created this. We created edge, we created this profile, we carved out the section, and so forth. So if you see, this is basically how it's been done. Okay, so this is how do you do a quick review of your part.
Okay, thank you once again, Kieran. Um, so um, with that conclusion from Kieran, we are done with the workshop. Unless there are any questions that you wish to ask us, please feel free to reach out to us in LinkedIn or in through email if you have any questions of some sort. If you also ever want to explore more or get extra demos, um, feel free to stay connected with our site so you can get the latest updates of the workshops and the webinars that we hold. Thank you once again, everyone, and thank you especially Kieran for the insightful session. And everyone, there also is going to be a survey at the towards the end, and I wish that you can contribute to that survey so we can better know your feedback. Thank you again, everyone, and wish you a good rest of the day.